Yo, what is going on? And welcome to another episode of Second Guessing with Stressan. I'm your host, Stressan. I'm behind the screen right here. Let me see if I can switch it over. There we go. Yeah, there we go, man. How we doing today, fellas? I know it's a second day of free agency, so again, it started off hot with Casario. More great news. The big trade got rid of Kenyon Green and added a top safety. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better situation, in my opinion. It's a slam dunk. Something again that Casario caught all of us completely off guard with. So I'm big blessing. Appreciate you guys rolling in. I'll probably just answer a couple of comments to allow people to get in, and then I'll just dive into my analysis of the Kenyon Green for CJ Gardner-Johnson trade. And then I'll probably just go through my timeline and kind of recap all the different signings across the league. And then we can look at, positions of need left and which players are there for us to look at, and can look at some contracts for Kenyon and CJ and just, the usual stuff, and then kind of preview tomorrow. So, yeah, appreciate you guys tuning in. This has been another great day, man. I mean, is there anything better than free agency? It's just like nonstop, dude. I mean, especially like when you get good news. Today was pretty awesome. Shout out Ben. He says, "What up, Stressan? Thanks for tuning in, bro." Shout out Primo Looks. He says, "What up? How y'all doing today? Let me know if you got any questions." I will say too, I wrote an article, basically doing like a recap of last year's timeline, just for us and, to compare to this year to see if we can kind of see any things to look out for trend wise. And, I get every year is different, but if anything is like last year, day three, which, the official signing day was the biggest day for us last year. That's the day that we traded for Joe Mixon and we signed Daniil Hunter. So obviously it's a different scenario, much less cap space, yada, yada, yada. But we have some holes to fill on the interior O line. So, who knows? Maybe we'll get a big signing out of that. So I got my fingers crossed. Everyone on IG, appreciate you tuning in. Primo says Titus got to be safe, right? Uh, I mean, normally I would say, yeah, of course. But I mean, given, the firing of Slowick, the cutting of Shaq Mason, and then the trading of Laramie Tunsil, to me, no one's safe. But as of now, it sounds like, he's the left tackle from what Aaron Wilson reported, and Blake Fisher will play right tackle. But I mean, I was thinking about the new O line when writing about, the analysis of the Laramie Tunsil trade. There's still a lot of ways that Nick Casario could go with this. I mean, he could go and sign a free agent tackle or trade for one, and then kick Titus back to guard. I mean, or he could trade Titus or cut Titus. I mean, there's a lot of options. So, yeah, shout out Tony. That's my guy. I'm on my new MacBook Pro. My guy Tony from Houston, he runs an Apple store in Beaumont, and he hooked me up, and with the AirPods too. So, my other laptop, the camera crapped out on me, and I finally gave in and got this MacBook, and it's been great. So, shout out DCDYX on IG. He says, "Stressing for the Texans." I don't think you need to be, man. I'm blessing. And I get it too. Like, that's the big thing. You see a lot with people in free agency is impatience. And I tried to preach it before, but I mean, it's going to happen regardless. But it's tough when you see all these teams making these moves and we have these needs and we don't get guys, and you see guys go for a certain amount of money. But I mean, you have to remember, one, it's a long journey. So again, if you want to check my website out, I wrote an article on that, basically explaining why to be patient. And that was on that timeline article as well. We didn't trade for Stephon Diggs until like, early mid April before the draft last year. Before that, like, we were happy, but not fully happy. And then we trade for Diggs, and it's like, holy shit. So that's just a reminder, there were some bigger signings that we made a little bit later. And just like at any point in time, anything can happen. And with what Casario has shown with trading Tunsil and getting draft picks and trading Kenyon Green for freaking CJ Gardner-Johnson, that's what I realized today. Was I made a list, we'll go over it, is, we spend all this time for free agency looking at free agents, but we forget to look at trade candidates, because Casario gets outside the box, and that's beneficial on multiple fronts. It can help with the comp pick, which probably isn't our concern, but you prevent bidding for free agency. You don't have to compete for negotiating. You can see it in the trade for Christian Kirk, where we could have waited for him to get cut, but we traded a seventh round pick basically just to circumvent the waiver wire. But trading for CJ Gardner-Johnson, he's a guy that many people probably thought wasn't available, and so that dictates how you address free agency. So yeah, I'll get a couple more comments and then I'll start diving into the trade. I freaking love it. I'm sure y'all do too. I mean, it's fucking awesome, dude. I can't believe it happened. I'm sorry. I told myself I would try not to cuss today. I kind of re-listened to my stream last night and I got a little pumped and sounded like a loser cussing too much, but hey, I'll do my best. Jay says, how many days are there of free agency? I mean, I don't think there's like a definite end. Things kind of slowed down for sure. Christopher on TikTok said, so good today, no LT. And then I don't know why it's tuned in. Thanks for tuning in. He says, they are making it where we can get the best talent in the draft. Yeah, I mean, it's a good position. And then over on IG, we got a couple more comments. Texas Taco says, definitely blessing. This might be Casario's best year, minus CJ Anderson back-to-back. Facts. And, that's going to be hard to top regardless for anybody. But, again, it's still early. It's only day 2. Like, I think most fans that I interact with, which I interact with a lot of y'all, are, like, feeling good about stuff. But they're still – and I'm not – that's fine. Everyone thinks differently and takes things in differently. But – when they're upset, I'm like, hey, like it's day 2, bro. Like we have a lot of time left. We have the draft. I mean, a lot of things can happen. Elite all pictures on IG says D'Amico only cares about defense. He hasn't did anything for CJ again. So this is my point. It's only been 2 days, bro. Like we're good. Like I get players are going off the board, but there's still a lot of people there and we can make trades and there's the draft. Like we hyper focus on these free agent vets. But, I mean, in today's NFL, like how many times do you see rookies have an instant impact? I mean, just look no further than our own roster last year. We had no first-round pick, but we had 3-4 guys contribute meaningful minutes as rookies. So it's like you have to consider that. Like Kalen Bullock was a third-round pick. Blake Fisher, second-round pick. Kamari Lassiter, probably the steal of the draft, played as a Pro Bowl level, in my opinion, at cornerback in the second round. So, I mean, and we had other guys too. We have rookies every year that play for us. So, I mean, that's something to keep in mind. I get it. Like we're prisoner of the moment. Like we want that instant gratification, but try your best to see long-term and not stress too much. So, yeah, Tony's the GOAT. Y'all DM him for some products. I don't know if he'll give a discount like he did for me, which he probably didn't give me one. He probably just told me that. Shout out Jamal Sports Connor. I enjoy interacting with you, man. You're good vibes on Twitter. Appreciate you, bro. True Texan says, I think one more big trade is Cup for Diggs. Cup or Diggs, I assume that's what that means. I don't think we'll get either of those guys. And again, y'all know me, receiver position. I'm analytical overall, but especially receiver position. They're both heavy slot guys. We signed a slot. We traded for a slot in Kirk, and we're financially invested in that. It wouldn't make sense to get another guy, and then now you have to play one of them outside where they're not as good, or split the reps. So it's like a waste. It's not the best use of your money. And I don't I think Cup and Diggs was like primarily outside at Z most of his career, but in my opinion, he kind of lost a little of that top end speed. And then when he came to Houston, that's when we said, okay, like we're going to make you a slot, and that's when he started playing slot. But with Cup, I mean, kind of the same thing. He's been mostly slot, but he's kind of lost a little of that top end speed. I think they're viable outside, but you don't want them to be your primary Z receiver opposite of Nico. But I mean, I could be wrong. And I also think that, if you were to sign either Cup or Diggs, I think Diggs is probably going to be 15, 17 million. I need to dig into it more. I want to make my predictions before he signs, but my first thought is he's going to sign with Dallas. I don't know if that Turpin signing kind of changes that. But I don't know too. I need to look more into that, like the makeup of the receiver room, but I don't think we'll get either of those guys. I think we may be set at receiver until the draft, and I'm totally fine with it. I know a lot of people probably aren't, but I think it's good. I think Nico obviously is a stud. Christian Kirk, super underrated. I think Justin Watson's super underrated. He'll be that veteran Z receiver, and then now you draft a Z receiver behind him that has more speed and quickness and route running, and he can kind of split with him or start over him depending on how ready he is or depending on the player we get. So I mean, if you were to like just right now, if you were to have Nico, Kirk, and Matthew Golden, and then Matthew Golden has like a JSN year or like a BTJ year, like, okay, well, fuck. I mean, we're over here stressing about this, but like, we don't know what that rookie's going to be. So, um, Primo Look says whole culture change of the O line. Love it. Yeah, D'Amico is not playing, bro. I mean, I'm impressed by it. DQ says Stressans, what up, bro? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, MacBook. Tony says cut Dalton Schultz. I don't think a cut makes sense from the numbers, but a trade makes sense. And Optimistic says bring me Scherf and Zeiler. Okay, I mean shit. If we can find a way to make things shake, then yeah. Tony says Hunter Henry, Komet, Goddard. Yeah, those are all 3 trade candidates. Shit, throw in Mark Andrews. There's a lot of trade candidates at the tight end position. In Consario, we trust. Julius Harris, what's good, bro? Hey, Julian, what's up, man? Julius, appreciate you tuning in, man. RIP says all things are possible with Nick. Facts. Houston sports fan says our defense is already better than last year. We just need to focus on offense. I agree. And we're getting there. And also, too, like, I don't think that they say, like, hey, let's do defense first, then offense. You know, this is a guess, but I feel like this is the way it works. Like, from listening to the Nick Caserio over the years and watching him, he's just like he's a respond, not react kind of guy. You know, he won't overreact to things like I was saying last night. He's a value whore. He's going to look for the best deal possible. He'll never overspend. So he's not like being over aggressive and feeling like he's in a position of desperation. He's just like, all right, I'm going to chill and like wait and see what comes. If it's good, I'll take it. Nah, if not, I'll wait for the next one. And then as a result of that, you sit back and chill. You find someone on the flip side, you find someone else doing what you don't want to do. You find someone else being desperate and aggressive. And now you can take advantage of that and get the better deal. So that's his approach. He's just chilling like, hey, what's up? Like, I'm good. And so I love it, dude. I mean, case in point with that trade today. Get a couple more. Let's see. Primo Look says it's funny how many people don't think Nick has a plan for the offense and free agency and the draft. Yeah, and so I sometimes like think, oh, he's like got this master plan. Like, I don't think you have to have a master plan, but like with what I just said, like the ability like that he has, that he knows he can make shit shake without having to be over aggressive. It could be somewhat risky, but like if he's somebody who can make shit get done, it's not risky. Like he did it last year. We wanted Saquon, and he wanted a couple more million or $1 more million, whatever it was. Like, we're good. We get Joe Mixon. Same thing with these O linemen. Like maybe we wanted some of these guys, but the price was just crazy. We're like, nah, we're good, bro. So we'll figure something out. But at that, I also think too, like he'll have that approach, but not too much so to where, he'll leave a certain area to expose in that sense. So, I mean, I think the approach is great, but yeah, I agree. So, but like I think what Primo's basically saying is probably referring to the O line. Like he didn't just up and trade Laramie Tunsil without already thinking this through. It wasn't like someone just calling, yeah, we'll trade him. And then like they've been thinking about this. So yes, that's true. Like trading Laramie Tunsil, I guarantee you they've been thinking about this for a long time, and it's mostly contractual. They've been looking at the books like, shit, look at this cap hit this year and next year. How can we get out of it? And then, like I said last night, all the other shit that played out throughout the year made it that much easier and is part of the puzzle, in my opinion. So I think it all kind of works together. But yes, he wasn't just reckless and just traded Tunsil away to the first guy, which, by the way, I believe it was Ian Rappaport reported today on Pat McAfee show. He was talking about the Laramie Tunsil trade, and he said that the Texans were shopping Tunsil, and he heard that a lot of teams like said, nah, we're good. Like we'll hit the free agency or hit the draft. So I don't know, so maybe the market for him wasn't as strong as we thought, what that says about Tunsil. And then someone else in a group chat made a good point too. Like another side benefit, and maybe this is overreacting to it, but the fact that he probed around for teams that need a tackle, now he kind of has some intel for the draft, which you may already know, but now you may know who really wants who where when you did that. So, I mean, that's a nugget that someone brought up. I forget the name of who it was, but that was a pretty good thought there. Primo says all good things come with patience. Facts. That's a good way to put it. Lord Tubbington. That's a great name, dude. I want Jalen Higgins in the draft. I think you mean Jaden Higgins, but yes, he's a beast. Unpopular take on my part. He's like adding another Nico. He's actually being comped to Nico, which y'all know my thoughts on that. I didn't want DK mostly because of the draft capital and salary, but because they're the same receiver. To me, you don't need two X receivers. I mean, you look at Pittsburgh, they traded for DK, but they have George Pickens. They're pretty much the same receiver, vertical. They just run go routes and catch 50-50 balls, like essentially when you boil it down. I think that George Pickens will get traded. I think, if you now I saw it today, like his contract, he's somebody who is going to be due for an extension next year. So what you're seeing is a lot of these GMs getting out in front of it. They already know they won't want to extend them, or I think he might be due for extension like in a month or so. And so basically, you just get out in front of it and get somebody else, or you trade them. And then we got not to noon. I hope I said that right. Said good chance we see an all offense draft, huh? I mean, there's still plenty of time, but it leans heavily. And I also think too. Uh, I think offense was always going to be the focus in the early rounds because of D'Amico's Ryan's ability to one, find talent for his scheme, and two, get the most, if not more, out of players. I mean, look at the interior D line again. Last year, we all wanted Christian Wilkins. He signs this guy, that guy, this guy, guys that we never heard of or thought were all scrubs. Mario Edwards, Tim Settle, Foley Fatukasi, a couple other smaller name guys that we thought weren't good. And all of them had like career years because one, he found guys with certain traits or skill sets that fit his scheme, and he put them in positions to best succeed. He said, hey, you're good at this, you do this. And then he's just a good coach. So he can find talent. He's smart about using guys to their strengths, and he's a good coach. So with that logic, he can do more with less on defense as far as reaching for a guy. I mean, Kamari was a great value pick. Kalen Bullock, they got in the mid-third, and he, was a starter. You look at Henry To'oTo'o, he's a mid to late round pick that he inherited, that he's developed. The list goes on. Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner back to San Francisco, third, fifth round picks. So, I mean, with that mindset too, it's like, yeah, focus. He's probably like, I got the defense. Like, y'all can load up on offense, which is good. Shout out Brandon Hallman. He says, curious if Kaylee likes Mekhi Becton, if they want to block from the inside out. I think he does. It's just going to be price, in my opinion. And, from what I heard from, I think, Rappaport or someone asked why he hadn't been signed today. Or actually, it was the O-line guy on Pat McAfee. And he was basically saying, I think Shipley's his name. He was saying, he probably thought he was better than what he was worth market-wise because it's rejuvenation. And teams might think that, hey, we think that part of your rejuvenation is because you were on a better O-line with a better coach, and maybe there's this gap. So maybe if his price comes down, then yeah. But my hunch is he'll be too expensive. But a guy like Zeitler is the money dream pick value. Yeah, he's old, but we don't need a long-term starter. We got draft capital. We need a 1 to 2 year deal just to get us through. We can find a new one. There's other names. We'll go through the list, I think, that are better options value-wise. But yes, of course, talent-wise, he's probably the best, and I'm sure we want him. Retreat to hell. What's up, brother? He commented to Brandon. DQ says our defense is top 3, book it, or maybe number 1. Facts. I mean, we were already on the verge of that last year, even with injuries and with the shitty offense that always put them in shitty positions with turnovers, short fields, always going 3 and out, shit like that. So, I mean, yes. Jared says it's Steph Diggs definitely out. I wouldn't say definitely out. Like, I'm kind of being risky by saying I don't think he's in play. I don't think he is, but I mean, I could be wrong. That's just my personal opinion from money and from positional fit. Brandon says that week D'Amico said he was going to take to himself before deciding things. He sat at home and said, fuck it, fire all of them. He literally fucking went like, I'm trying to think of like the term or the phrase, but like he just went fucking rogue, not rogue, but he went scorched earth, I guess is a way to say it. Like, and I love it, dude. Like, none of us saw this shit. Like, we all, I guess, like I said it last night, we've all talked about it, but like, we just make these assumptions about him based off of him being a nice guy and just from what we see from him. Like, I guarantee you behind closed doors, he's a motherfucker. Like, I'm sure he's cool as shit until you fuck up and he like lets you know. which is what you want, dude. Like, I'll be cool and respect you, but also know like I can flip the switch and like let you fucking know, like get back in your place. And so that's basically kind of what he did with firing people. Like, hey, I'm being cool, I'm being cool, I'm being cool. Boom, you're gone. And like, so the more, he'll probably have to do that less and less now that he's kind of like let it be known. And it's not like these guys that got fired or traded like were intentionally not aligning with what he wanted, but regardless, like people like I said last night, like he sent a loud message without even having to use words, and he won't have to go to the team and be like, hey, if you mess up, I'll trade you like Tunsil. Like he doesn't have to say that. Like it's just known. Like oh shit, like he's about his shit. And so maybe there's some players too that maybe have the same mindset as us. Like oh nah, he's cool. He's a player's coach. He won't do shit. Like now they're like all right, this motherfucker's for real, dude. Like like it could be me. And so if you're a guy like Dalton Schultz or Titus Howard, you're like I got to get my shit together. Like he'll fucking shit me out if I don't step my shit up. I just cussed a lot in that little rant right there. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, I loved it. He went scorched earth. Nat says, so whom would we trade a 2027th round pick for next year? A tight end, maybe. I mean, it all depends. That's a tough question, dude. A lot of time between now and then. DQ says, I think Titus might be a pretty damn good this year at tackle. That's my opinion. I agree, dude. We talked about it last night. It was announced today by Aaron Wilson that he will be is expected to be the starting left tackle. He played like 240 something snaps in 2021 at left tackle and played really well. We were watching it, and like a lot of the runs were like gap runs where he was pulling and getting on the move, like, so that also helps too, which is what we will run again. So we used to run gap scheme back then, and we'll probably run more gap scheme now. So yeah, and like I guarantee you, that's something they thought about. Like, hey, Titus can fucking play left tackle. Like, we could fucking trade Laramie and be fine. Like, you don't think that's like what they thought, So I agree, and I guarantee you they think the same thing. Lord Tubbington says, I know it's hard to say right now, but if you had to guess, would you say we trade up, stay at 25, or trade down? Dan, that's a great question. Before the Tunsil trade, I'd say the least likely scenario was to trade up. And the most likely scenario would be to trade back. And then the middle scenario would be to stay at 25. Now, I don't fucking know. Because now you have extra draft capital, so you can afford to trade up and get a premier tackle. Like if Mimbo from Missouri falls to like 15, 16, fucking trade up. If Banks Jr. from UT, another tackle, a tackle who can play guard, both of these guys, which we need both. I mean, potentially. If he falls to like 20, trade up. So I guess it depends on the board. Typically, it's always like I suspect us to trade back because, again, Casario is a value whore. And I don't know if that's like considered a cuss word, but I'm saying it. Sorry. But yeah, Casario, and I've talked about this too, and we all know this, but they love that, and him and D'Amico love that sweet spot of the draft, which is like early to mid second to late second, third, that little range right there. They feel like that's like the meat of the draft where like all the good value is. So you could trade back and get more picks too. And then stay at 25. If the board falls a certain way, you could take Matthew Golden if he falls, or you could take one of those players. Tyler Booker could be in the mix. I'm still kind of ambivalent on where I'd want to take him if we took him, but Gray Zabel is the guy that I want for sure. And I don't know, I would be comfortable at 25. And you do these mocks, you don't know how accurate they are, but on these mock drafts, he's fallen to like, late first to like early second. Like shit, you could trade back to like early second and fucking pick up a pick and get Gray Zabel. To me, he's he fits that nastiness box of like finishing plays, road grader type thing. And he's versatile. He can play all 5 positions. And he played at a small school, North Dakota State, so that's kind of out of their wheelhouse as far as they usually get Power 5 guys. But you look at the Senior Bowl, he went, I know it's not a game, but like he did one-on-ones with all these like top premier prospects and like shut them all down. So it should translate. So Brandon says they will let Nick Caley build an offense and culture around him. Hopefully that encourages Caley to stick around a couple of years to show how they develop. Yeah, so I'm interested to see how much power they're giving Kaylee. I mean, obviously, I would assume they're, giving him a decent amount because it's your offense and you want it to work. You don't want to just tell him what to do. But yeah, and it's crazy though. Like, if best case scenario, he's badass, we win the Super Bowl, he's gone, which is fine. But then now we're postured to promote from within. But we'll worry about that later. But yeah, hopefully he stays a little while. Emac says, and Nick, we trust. Facts. Primo, whoever D'Amico wants on defense, I'm fine with it. Facts. And that's what's crazy is like we get these guys on defense. We're like, who's this guy? He sucks. Like, we don't know shit. Like, D'Amico's grinding tape. Like, he knows this guy's good at that and this, and I'll use him here for that. Like, we're just looking at fucking highlights and numbers. Like, we don't know shit. Ernesto, do you like this offense so far? Of the moves Nick has made so far. Yeah, so I mean, I'm way more high in the receiving core than most people with, the fact that I think Kirk's underrated and I think Justin Watson's underrated. I think those three starting receivers would be good enough. But with the expectation that we get, a dynamic receiver in the draft. And then O line, I mean, even as of now, it's still potentially better, honestly. And that's without us signing a free agent and drafting a guy. Obviously, just based off the OC change, new scheme, running gap runs, and having man protection as opposed to zone and slide protection, like we talked about last night. Also, you know, projecting the run game would be better because we run more gap runs up the middle. So now we're in better situations. CJ Stroud's projected to have more control of the offense. It's just we have a better play caller, so we'll be in less bad situations. And then, yes, I mean, Patterson's at center, Titus at left tackle. We need a left guard is the guy we signed today. I'm blanking on his name, but in my opinion, we'll go over it. He is just basically we traded away Kenyon Green, who was going to be a backup in our eyes as like maybe a reclamation project. And we replaced him with signing a vet around the same money. And so, like, I know people are freaking out, like, oh, that guy's going to start. Like, okay, like maybe he will, but like, in my opinion, like that's probably not the plan. It's just a depth piece. Like, you just lost the guard and you got one back. Boom. It was like a simultaneous deal right there. And center Patterson, I think, solid. We cut Shaq. We still have Scruggs, so you can say Scruggs is our right guard, who played good at right guard for the last 2 or 3 weeks before they replaced him in the Kansas City Chief game. So he could be a starting guard, honestly. And then Fisher at right tackle. We were already projecting that. So right now it's with those five, like that's decent. And I expect for the O-line to improve. So Jess says we have a Super Bowl defense, drafting, trading a good interior line. We can get over the hump past the division, in my opinion. Facts. I agree. I 1,000% agree. Even last year we had a Super Bowl caliber defense, and that was without adding the guys we did like CJ Gardner-Johnson and Sheldon Rankins, which I mean that doesn't really move the needle quite that much. But the biggest thing to me was Jalen Petrie being hurt. That was and Jimmy Ward behind him, so we basically had to start a true nickel as opposed to a linebacker type nickel. And when Jalen Petrie was in the game at that role, he was a huge X factor. Like he changed the whole defense. So like Travis Kelce ate against us. If Petrie's in that game, he would have fucked him up. Like he would have not gotten shit, dude. So that was a big deal. And he also now you can get creative with your play calls like blitzing and delayed blitzes and all this stuff with Petrie. So that's a big key too. So I agree. And I said all year it's a Super Bowl caliber defense. All we need is a slightly above average offense to be a legit contender. And as of now, the defense projects to be better. And I would assume we have a slightly above average offense at the least this year. So I'm super optimistic about next year. Absorbed Ocean says, yo, what up, brother? Thanks for tuning in. Matthew says, do you believe that we can re-sign Stefan with him taking a lower offer? I don't think it's going to happen. Abdul, yo. Jared says, thoughts on Goddard? Heard he's available. Beast, love it. Haven't looked at the contract, but I mean, now, like before, I would be like, oh, like I was like the conservative reserve guy, like, oh, that's not going to happen. But like now it's like, I can see all kind of shit happening, dude. Like they're showing like they're willing to shake shit up. Nobody's safe. Like if you just traded Laramie Tunsil, of course, and so you just traded Laramie Tunsil, like, okay, like so that says we're willing to trade anybody. I mean, almost anybody. But so guys like Schultz are tradable. And then the other counter, like the trading Schultz. And I'm not like advocating for a one way or the other. I'm just painting a picture of like how things can happen. So like the argument before, like for Schultz not getting traded is like, oh, we're not going to trade him. And then also like, oh, who's going to want him? Well, who the hell wanted Kenyon Green? We got fucking CJ Gardner-Johnson for Kenyon Green. So like, okay, what is Schultz going to get? Like, yeah, we can get something for Schultz now. So I mean, I get the contracts part of it too, but like it's all relative. I mean, he's a better player than Kenyon. Yeah, he makes more money, but he's a better player. So I mean, it's still, yeah. So I could see a lot of shit happening. Sky says, let us get a good DT. We're the best defense in the league, no doubt. Facts. And so I'm kind of jumping around, but I'll touch on this right now. And so tomorrow is the first day of free agency officially where you can sign players. And so we have to maneuver our cap. And so we don't really know how much cap we have right now. I know Texans cap has kind of been trying to do estimates, but it's hard for them to do it without like legit finalized numbers. But more than likely, with all these signings we had and with the amount of money we had projected coming in, which is like 13 million, I believe, or I may be wrong, but it wasn't a lot. And we signed a bunch of dudes, it depends on their cap hit for this year. More than likely, we got some shit to do. And that brings up the Nico Autry. I know people are like annoyed by me for saying it, but like, I've been seeing like the signings and like I see them stacking up the D line. We signed, we got 4 defensive ends. And Danico Autry is a tackle, but he also plays edge. So he's kind of like, okay, like he's not a true position. But so like the more we add at both positions, tackle and edge, the more to me it's like, all right, like, are they moving on from him? Like, and I may be wrong. I'm just like saying like, hey, like this could be a thing. Like it already made sense to do it. Like we looked at it last night on Over the Cap. Like you can go through and see, how you can make money restructuring and then, by cutting and trading. And a trade probably makes more sense for Autry if that's, he's one of the better options to free up money now. And, based off the amount of guys we've signed, I could see something like that happening. But regardless, they're going to have to do a restructure tomorrow. I think Hunter is one of them. I think Titus is another. And I forget the other one. But again, like we talked about last night, if you restructure a guy, first they have to have enough base salary left for you to convert that into a bonus to restructure. Second, there's a common misconception that restructuring means a player agrees to take less or agrees to anything. They don't agree to anything. It's just semantics solely on the franchise side for like accounting numbers. And it's actually better for the player. They get more guaranteed money essentially as a result. So it's better for them. I believe that's the case, but I just know it's better for the player. Like, and regardless, they don't have say in it. So, or they just check it off. Like it's no big deal. But the point is restructuring from the franchise, only so many guys are eligible based off their contract and how much base salary they have left. And then also too, if you restructure a guy, you're now more committed into them because you've converted more of that base salary into like a prepaid bonus. Again, it's cap versus cash. It's just all accounting. But basically on your books, you're investing in this player. So if you restructure a guy, it's going to be harder for you to cut them later on. So if this will be interesting too, like we'll really see what they think about Titus. I mean, if they restructure Titus, I'm like, all right, he's the fucking guy for the future. Like that means they'll probably re-sign him or something. So, but yeah, I can pull it up again. We can look at, the options. It's already been 34 minutes. I haven't even got into the first topic yet. This is crazy. I love the Q&A. It's my favorite thing to do. Unknown says, how long have you been live? About 34 minutes. EMAC says, I think we will see a totally different O-line now that Tunsil is gone to have the same mentality as the D-line. Yeah, I mean, I could see it, dude. Like before, I'd be like, nah, you're tripping, bro. Like it's not possible. They won't do it. Anything's open. I will say real quick, if you're on TikTok and Instagram, I appreciate you. If I don't get your comment and it's annoying, the best way for me to read a comment is on X or YouTube or Facebook. But I do appreciate y'all on all platforms tuning in. I will also say, feel free and make sure to follow me on all platforms. I'd really appreciate it, even if you don't use them that much. And then also, if you want to rewatch this later or catch up if you've tuned in late, you can do it on YouTube or you can find it on my X, or the best way probably is Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Just type in Houston Stressans or Second Guessing with Stressan. It should pop up. And then my website too. I write articles on there. I used to write for Sporting News last year. It was like my first time getting into writing articles, and then just decided to do it myself. And that way I have the freedom to do whatever I want when I want. But yeah, so I have, articles on there on my website, houstonstressans.com. I have a free newsletter. Feel free to subscribe. I got a store with merch like this. I got my Houston versus everybody shirt on. Aziz Alshire punching Roshan Johnson from the Bears. Talk shit, get hit. Should have been standing there. So yeah, I got stuff on there. There's videos on there, all kind of good stuff. Vargas says Titus locked down Chris Jones. I'm sure he'll be fine at left tackle. Good point. Sky says let us get a good DT. We're best defense in the league, no doubt. Unknown says also we will still go live Wednesday. I don't know if I asked that last time, just making sure. Yes. So breaking news from Stressans. Tomorrow I'm going live my normal 9 p.m. and the special guest is DJ BNMA with ESPN. And we've had it planned for a couple of weeks, and we've been like trying to, link up schedule wise for like a couple months. He's been busy with the draft or the combine and, other stuff. But it's crazy that he's coming on tomorrow, a day or two after he broke the news with Schefter about the trade of Kenyon Green for Gardner-Johnson. So that'll be cool to have him on and just like get the insight on like how it went down, details, all that shit. So that'll be tight. Logan says, we blessing on the trades and we smoking on that Tunsil and Green pack. That's funny. Carlos, my guy, shout out, bro. Always a great show. As always, keep up the great work. Carlos has a podcast, Just Fans. He also writes for Our Esquina. Great guy. Give him a follow. Houston sports fan, Aziz, Kamari, Petrie, CJ, GJ, all hard hitters. Teams aren't going to leave Houston injury free. Yeah, so that was one of my thoughts too. Once we got CJ, like he's a dog like Kamari, dude, and he's a fucking shit talker. So I mean, you now have like enforcers. Aziz is an enforcer. He's a hard hitter, shit talker. Christian Harris, like if we get him back in the mix, like that's one thing we forget about Christian Harris. Like he's a fucking dog, dude. Like if you watch him when he's in the game, he's always like talking shit, like doing shit like that. So yeah, I mean, D'Amico has a type, dude. Like so he's slowly but surely building this defense how he wants it. I mean, even Jimmy Ward is like a crash out king. Like he'll hit your like, he's always hitting people late. Yeah, people are not going to want to play our defense, dude. And if our offense could be just minimally better, that's going to make our defense even better. Like if we get out to an early lead and now our defense can pin their ears back and rush the passer, it's going to get ugly. And the times we've seen it happen, the very few times, the two times that come to mind are the two wildcard playoff games. And we fucking dominated those games. Like our defense went fucking bananas, dude. And then it happened also in the Patriots game. Like, and that wasn't even because of the offense. That was all defense. But the point is it'll snowball and I'm super excited. Yeah, Brandon says, and Ward, facts. That's what I was saying. Unknown says, dude, I just still want Kevin Zeitler. We still need a guard. I got faith we'll get one. Yeah, Lakin Tomlinson is the guy we signed. Sorry, Lakin, I forgot your name. Yeah, I expect Lakin to be a reserve who can maybe compete for a starting spot. Jesse says, people going to sleep on Barrios. I think he'll be a good role player in the slot. I agree. So I said it last night. I tweeted also when it happened, like I thought this may be bad news for John Mechie. Typically, you only keep 6 receivers. Last year, we kept 7. The 7th was strictly a special teamer in Steven Sims. We saw how that went. We ended up cutting him because he wasn't even that good at punt returning for us, unfortunately, that year. And so, it's like a wasted roster spot. Like, you need to have value. Like, this is where John Mechie not returning punts could hurt him. Like, if Barrios balls out and he becomes the backup slot behind Kirk, then it's like, shit, do we trade him or what? And so I talked about trade candidates. Mechie could be a trade candidate now. Like I started thinking of like all the stuff that could happen. Jose Alberto on Facebook, he says, what about RB2? Any changes? So again, before, D'Amico and Nick went all crazy and started doing shit, I was like, nah, we're good. Like now I could see like, could they trade Dameon Pierce? Like, could they replace him with somebody? Yeah, they could. Like, because he's still got a good contract and value. So, I mean, they could decide to upgrade. But, like, my initial thoughts are like, he'll be better in a gap scheme. Mixon will get a heavy workload in the McVay scheme. They give the RB1 like 30 plus carries. And then we have British Brooks, and then we have Dare, and then we still have Jawar Jordan. So there's a lot of bodies in there. So I don't know that we would, but I wouldn't be surprised. It would have to have a corresponding move to get rid of somebody. Jesse says, I would feel better about signing a guard instead of drafting one. Nick has not drafted O-line well. Yeah, I mean, I get that concern. It's tough, but I say do both. I do both. That's been my plan the whole time, and that takes the pressure off of the guard rookie to start right away and allow them to develop. I'm going to grab a water. I guess I get in here and I get to talking so fast. My lips get dry, I get cotton mouth, but stay with me. I'll play a video. I'll be right back. Let's see here. Right. I don't know if y'all can hear that. Can y'all? I'll be right back. Yo, it's funny. I told myself, I'm going to get on here real quick and do a 30-minute live. I haven't even gotten into what I wanted to talk about yet. I'm just bullshitting with you guys. Wife's probably pissing me too. Sorry, babe. Sorry, I'm just going to go into some of my dialogue that I want to get into. I'll try and catch back up on comments if and where I can. I've been doing a decent job getting there, and then Brandon can hold down the chat for me if I miss anything. Brandon's encyclopedia of knowledge and is pretty good at keeping the chat going for me, even if I am less interactive. Let's see. Yeah, so let's see. Let's scroll through a couple of these. I'll highlight these comments at the very least. Yeah, and that's a good point by Warner Munoz, sleeping on Ladarius Henderson. Facts, dude. Guy we drafted 6th, 7th round last year out of Michigan. I mean, he was hurt. He could be a piece. Good point, bro. Yeah, Logan makes a good point about being healthy. We got Jess. Shout out Jess in the chat. Yeah, everything goes by fast when you love what you're talking about, for sure. Let's see what else we got. I was going to share my screen first and foremost and probably just go to my Twitter timeline and let it flow from there. So, but yeah, the first thing first is I talked about, I guess we'll just we won't go to Twitter timeline yet. We'll go to, we need to make moves before we sign these contracts tomorrow. So don't be surprised if more trades happen to offload cap, cutting players happens to offload cap, restructuring happens to offload cap, cap, no cap, a lot of cap. I'm a white guy saying cap. Anyhow, so back to the cap. Again, overthecap.com, no cap, is a website I recommend using. Definitely over SpoTrack. Definitely after using all their bullshit ass projections. They're all way off. And I don't know where to find the projections on this site, but there's a great tool on here for SpoTrack to look at contracts and then to see the different options of what would happen with that player with the different actions. So right here, you can see this says cut pre-June 1st. So right now, it'll show you if you do this action, what the dead money and cap savings are. So, off the bat, cut candidates, there really isn't any cut candidates. I mean, you could cut Autry with the pre-June 1st, but you have 4.5 in dead cap and 5.7 in savings. So that's the only option to cut, really, to save any kind of money. You can do it post June 1st, which you basically spread the savings over 2 years, but then the funds don't become available until after that date. So it's maybe not the best if you're in a crunch for money right now. I say money, I mean cap. Options on that, like Titus, if you were to do that, which would be dumb. He's not your left tackle. You would have dead money of $8 million and save $14 million. Shaq is gone. He gone. Danico Autry, this is the one that again, this is me not saying I think he's a beast. I love him, but I'm just saying what is an option. This is their best option for a cut with the post June 1st designation. It would be 1.5 million dead cap, but you would save 8.8 million. So let's go back and look at trading. Any value in trading guys to obviously it depends on the player. Again, Danico is kind of the same. It doesn't really make sense to do it pre-June 1st. But if you do it post-June 1st, but again, too, though, like you do these things, you don't get money right away. So I think like our only option of things that might happen tomorrow are restructuring, which I'll do in a second. But for Danico, it's the same as cutting him if you were to trade him. So you figure you might as well trade him versus cut him, which, you know, if he's a good player and his base salary is 8.5 and his, let's see what his total salary is. I'm not sure what it is, but like basically you might as well get something in return if you plan on cutting him. I guess is like the better deal. So restructure, Daniil Hunter, 13 million if you restructure him, and you can also extend him and restructure. I'm not sure if it's like restructure and extend, or just extend him. But you can get 13 million, potentially more, maybe if you sign to an extension and move money around and backload it. But I mean, shit, that's going to be a big cap hit in the future. And we just saw the contracts for Myles Garrett and Max Crosby at 35 and 40 million APY. I mean, he's obviously not that level, but I would imagine he's probably around at least 30 million APY. I'm not sure. Like, I think there was rumors about what we offered him and stuff like that. But anyhow, Titus Howard, again, if you restructure a guy, you're more committed to them long-term by kicking the can down the road, but you could save 10 million there. Christian Kirk is the obvious one. There's got to be something that happens to his contract tomorrow. You could save 9.8 million with the restructure. I think Kirk and Hunter are the same as far as you could also extend them, which an extension for Kirk would make sense, and even further that cap on the back end down the road, which you would think if we acquired this guy, we'd want him for at least a couple years, 3-year deal and extend it on the back end. And then Schultz, if you restructure, but are you committed to him long term? I don't know. Like maybe we see a Dalton Schultz. Let's see what the trade was for Schultz. Trade pre is not. I mean, if you trade Schultz pre, you have 5 million dead cap, but you save 9 million. So I mean, we could see a Schultz trade tomorrow. We could see a Schultz trade tomorrow. Holy shit! I think I'm just realizing that. Or if you did with the post June 1st, the dead cap is 2.5 and 11.5 in cap. Again, it's later, but I mean, that's not out of the picture. And like, again, this is just me looking at this. I forgot Davis Mills is down here. You could do Davis Mills. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Davis Mills could be. I wouldn't want to. I think he's a great player, a great backup, underrated, honestly. But he could be a trade candidate by tomorrow to save money. You save a couple million. You save 3, but you have some dead cap. Let me go back to, let's see. I didn't realize I guess I didn't scroll down all the way on some of these people. I guess you could always cut some of these lower end guys. Let's see. Christian Harris. Oh, shit. Christian Harris could get cut. If you cut Christian Harris with the pre-June 1st designation, it's only 267,000 in dead cap. You get 3.4 million in cap savings. Christian Harris could be on the chopping block, dude. Let's see what the trade is. It should be the same numbers. If you trade him, it's the same. That's crazy. I hope that's not the case, but I mean, you kind of heard rumors, and then you saw us being interested. Again, like I kind of look into things, but like if there was validity to the fact that we were looking into Dre Greenlaw with us running a 4-2-5 defense, that would mean that if we were to get him, Harris would have been gone. Like he would have to have been gone because you have Aziz, Henry, and then Harris. You run a 4-2-5. You only play 2 linebackers like 70-80% of the snaps on defense. You run it the most in the league. Why would you have 5 linebackers that you're paying money to? So that means if they were seriously interested in Dre Greenlaw, that means they were willing to move on from Harris, which the whole thing with Harris last year was bizarre to us. Like the whole injury shit, and then coming back, not coming back, and then comes back, and then gets hurt again, and then comes back later, and then we're all expecting to be Superman, and then he kind of, okay, he needs to ease his way back in, and then he basically seems like he got benched. I mean, and I pointed this out. This is crazy, dude. So Nick Caserio, I'll find the tweet, but Nick Caserio was talking recently at the draft or something, and he's like, yeah, and Harris, we'll see if he's back. And I was like, oh, what do you mean by that? Like, I didn't say one way or another. I was like, that's kind of weird that he just voluntarily said that. And most people are like, yeah, he just means like back to like health. But like, could that have meant like, is he back like on the team? I mean, because I mean, he was back healthy for fucking 4, 5, 6 weeks. I mean, if he was, and if he supposedly wasn't 100%, then why'd you play him? You risk getting him hurt again. So that was kind of my thing. Shit. I hope not. But scrolling through a couple more options here. Obviously, you don't off with anybody you just got. I mean, Jimmy Ward, someone just asked in the chat. That could be an option. I mean, if you traded him pre-June 1st, his dead cap is 2.6, but his savings is 3.3 million. I believe that's going to be the same for cutting. Yeah, no, if you cut him and you lose, you don't lose. You have 4.6 in dead and gain 1 million. Trade pre. So trade is 2.6 dead and 3 million savings. So maybe, and you have to find a suitor. And then trade post again, the money till later, same numbers. Man, no way. Let's see. Yeah, Joe Mixon, definitely don't want to do it. And the money doesn't make sense. Hell no. Yeah, I'm just mental exercise. I'm not saying we should or shouldn't do any of this. Tank Dell. And look at Dameon Pierce. Trade post. Could Dameon Pierce get cut or traded? Yeah, I mean, it's 1 million savings. That's not worth it at all. Xavier Hutchinson. I mean, that's a question too, which would be dumb. I'm getting too much in the weeds here. No, this is stupid. Anyways, we need to clear cap space. It could be, we went through all that. I'll quit talking about it. That's boring shit. Let's see. I'll share this tab instead. We had this fun.
Is going to be a factor.
A few moments later.
Full start. Offense number 78. Legal formation. Make it 3.
But I love Zeitler. If y'all haven't seen this video, his wife posted this years ago when he's in the hospital with her after giving labor to their child, working on pass pro reps. Does that not scream swarm to you? That seems pretty swarmy to me. And then, yeah, miss you, LT. I mean, LT, he was still a good player. We can't just, like me sharing that stuff, like I'm not shitting on the guy. Like, love this meme of Caserio, by the way. Goated. Yeah, so the CJ trade, I was shocked by it. I guess we can dive into it. There were some draft picks. Houston is acquiring, this is via Adam Schefter, safety CJ Gardner-Johnson from the Eagles in exchange for former first-round pick Kenyon Green per DJ Bieneme, who will be on the show tomorrow. Trade includes a pick swap with the Eagles getting a 2026 fifth-round pick and the Texans getting a 2026 sixth-round pick. So basically just straight up. And then, I tweeted, I was kind of a little giddy this week. I've made some errors. Daniel Jones signed with the Colts. Hilarious. Anthony Richardson, generational talent, this and that. He's going to freaking tear us up this year, all this shit. It's about to get replaced by Daniel Jones, which is actually probably worse for us. I would be more scared of Daniel Jones than I am Anthony Richardson. But, I mean, neither scare you, obviously. Yeah, this is me sharing a video of Kenyon Green. And then, yeah, Seth talked about this and shared on the radio.
LT, like, he a vet. Like, he not doing nothing extra at practice. Like,
We talked about that last night, too. Like, that became, like, a cool thing. Like, oh, yeah, he's chill. He don't do shit. Like, no, that's not, like – and again, too, like, we have to remember DeMeco Ryans inherited this roster, so it's going to take time for him to kind of offload the guys that doesn't fit his culture. And it's probably especially hard when you got guys like LT who are like fucking good. You can't just cut them. And so, but this team should get better and better each year and become more solidified to be more sustainable, to be a legit year in, year out contender. And so, yeah, we'll go to the cap hits for, let's go to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson Jr. Such a cool guy. He's like a great vibes, bunch of swag. The name's cool. The initials, CJ, GJ, like that's cool as fuck. We got 2 CJs on the team now. We got the 2 best CJ. We have the best CJ NFL duo of all time on the same team ever. Elite. Check a couple comments real quick. Make sure I didn't miss anything good. Yeah, okay, we're all kind of chilling right now. Brandon says, might be a hard scoop to get, but during next season, someone should talk to Kenyon Green and ask about the differences between what he saw and worked with in Houston versus Philly training. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. But now, I mean, I guess, now we have Popovich and the Skarnecchia influence, hopefully things are different. But so looking at the Gardner contract, so, I looked at it initially like from a pure cap standpoint. Let's see here. His cap number now with the Texans is 3.7 million. But it was, when I tweeted earlier in the day, his let's see. Okay, cool. I got a screenshot of it. I'll share this right here. So like it changes once they move teams. So basically, like the Eagles had dead cap. So like when he was on the Eagles, his cap hit, is that the same as it is here? Let's see. No, okay, yeah, we're good. Just forget what I just said. We'll start from here. His cap hit for 2025 is 3.7. Yeah, and then for 2026 is 4.5. But then he has void years where it's kind of backloaded, kind of like how we had Stefon Diggs, where we had that $15-16 million cap hit. So it is advantageous to have the low cap number on these first 2 years, but we'll pay for it in the back end. And so, the reasoning for the Eagles to trade him was the fact that, he will be due, so again, this all like thinking ahead, he's going to want an extension next year. So like the year you go into your contract year, which would be for him 2026, that's like the last year that he's playing on his contract. The void years, that's just like semantics for the contract, for moving cap space around for the team. So this time next year, he'd be wanting a contract extension and would be wanting to get paid. The Eagles are looking ahead like, hey, we got Jalen Carter, all these other studs we got to pay before him. So like, we should just trade him now and get something in return rather than wait till next year and cut him or whatever, or trade him with 1 year left and less value. So that's what a lot of these people are doing. A lot of these teams, that was their mindset. Looking at the contract initially, I kind of failed to look at this void year. It's still great to me. I mean, and so, he'll be coming, and I guess he could be restructured too. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, we could restructure this contract. When we traded for Stefon Diggs, we wiped the contract. That could be what we do with this. I'm just realizing this right now. So, when we traded for Stefon Diggs, we had like a 3-year deal with like 2 years left or something on it. And it was a pretty good number. We scrapped it, made it a 1-year deal. And then, we know the rest of that, but that we could see something like that with this. Scrap it, do a 1-year, 2-year deal. Who knows how long, but that could be another place to save money. So let's look at his restructure. I mean, the savings aren't crazy, but the savings you would get would be in the void year. So, yeah, I guess, yeah, each year is different. But anyways, that's his contract. Kenyon Green, do we have his? This is on Spotrac. So that's the thing, too. These things are kind of formatted different on each website. But his cap hit is 1.3 million. So when they traded, he's cheaper because we had more dead money invested in him, I believe is the way that works. But yeah, he's gone. They get a 1-year prove it deal for him, reclamation project. If he works out, great. If not, whatever, they can release him. I suspect he will do better with Jeff Stoutland, who is the best O-line coach in the NFL. They run more gap scheme, that man blocking directly in front of you in layman's terms, which when he ran, we didn't run a lot of gap scheme last year. It was slow, like a lot of wide zone. But when we did run gap scheme concepts, Kenyon Green did pretty good. So you have that aspect, and you have like the coaching aspect. And so I honestly, I have nothing, I have no ill will towards any of these players. I know some of us kind of get like, a little fanatical. But I hope he does good. Like, I think this is great for him. Like, this is like the best thing that could happen for him. Like, he was going to the best place he could possibly go. You look at Mekhi Becton, who's now a top free agent as a guard, was a highly selected draft pick by the Jets and was considered a bust. Eagles got him, reclamated him, and now he's getting a fat contract. So, I mean, could the same thing happen with Kenyon Green? Who knows? I mean, I hope the best for him, though. That's what I will say. And he seems like a great guy, too. Like, I mean, just, like, it's not like these players don't try. I think we kind of have to remember that. We kind of like assume like they just are sucking on purpose. Like, nah, like he just wasn't working out. I mean, and then the things can kind of snowball too. I mean, like, they're humans still, like, but I mean, they signed up for it, yes, but like the mental side of it, like, as you struggle and you get all this shit going on, like it can start to snowball. You lose your confidence, etc. So just the change of scenery alone could be great for him. But yeah, so like overall though, like, I love the trade. I mean, just like we all think, like, I thought he wasn't worth a 7th round pick, much less a player like CJ Gardner-Johnson, regardless of the contract. Like, diving in a little bit more, it's maybe not as big of a fleece as I thought, looking at the actual contract numbers. I mean, Howie Roseman is the best GM in the league, so he wouldn't just do some dumb shit, but we definitely won. And they're gambling on, hey, it's a flyer risk, try and get something rather than nothing. I mean, they could have kept CJ another year and then dealt with it next year. So I guess if you look at it from that lens, yeah, we definitely won the trade for sure. It's just not quite as lopsided as my initial thought. And I'll dive in more when I write an article on it, hopefully tomorrow. But yeah, so I'll go back to my timeline and just go through the news. We'll kind of see the different news that happened for the day. And let's see here. And so some good tweets about that. Yeah, I said if we get Kevin Zeitler and draft Gray Zabel, we could have the Killer Z's or ZZ Stop. That's my dad joke of the day. But I'm rooting for it. I'll make some merch on that if so. Yeah, if y'all want, we could watch a little bit of highlights on CJ Gardner-Johnson for a minute. Why is it not sharing the
to make it 2nd goal.
Gibson turning around. Wentz trying to throw a block. Moving backwards.
I might need to mute it so they don't tag me for whatever. But yeah, I mean, he's a ball hawk. You see these stats about like the top 10 ball hawk rates. He's up there, him and Stingley. Look at that ball hawk, dude. We got, Hawk and Lock, so we got another ball hawk. We're definitely going to need a nickname for the secondary. And he seems like a cool dude, too. He streams a lot. There was a lot of good clips going around today. Look at that. I mean, that's a fucking terrible pass, but still good ball skill. That's a pick 6 on Cooper Rush. Tips and overthrows. That's how you get picks, baby. So, yeah, he's a strong safety. He'll basically take Jimmy Ward's spot. He's the safety that'll be paired up with Kalen Bullock. Free safety is more of like your center fielder. Strong safety is more the versatile, can be more down in the box. But, I mean, he's a versatile piece. He can be in the box. He can play slot. He can play I think he used to be a slot corner earlier in his career. We'll go to his PFF in a second and look at like his splits, like his position stuff. But I think he used to be a slot corner. Look at that. And that's a good play, dude. Run the bitch back. Go, CJ. Damn, he owns Dallas, bro. That's crazy. Well, Cooper Rush, I guess, but still. Look at that. Ball skills, dude. Damn. But yeah, he's a streamer. There were some cool clips going around today. One, okay, he can tackle too. A blitz off the edge. This is the blitz that fucking killed us all fucking year in the Slowick offense. Yep. That's when you're supposed to run a hot route. Like that's on the fucking tight end, in my opinion. But I think in our offense, we didn't have that option. Oh, pick. Tips and overthrows, man. A lot of these picks are from pressure and then tips. Shit. Davis Mills. Oh, no, it's a tackle on Pierce. Okay. And so, yeah, he's aggressive. Like we talked about it earlier, he's a headhunter. Let's see what happens here. Pick. Ooh, man, he can catch those low balls off the turf. That's a pause. I guess it should say pause there. It's kind of pause worthy. Yeah, and he's got some good ball skills, man. Oh my God, Mills, what was that, dude? Especially catching that duck. You see that ball? How could anyone catch that? Whack. That was sick. But yeah, he's a streamer. He talked about when he got the news today. Like his understanding of the situation was like mature as hell. And again, that was the reasoning. No way. Oh, why is this a highlight? Did he hit the guy? Ooh. He's physical too. Yeah, when he was streaming, we could watch this shit all day. He talked about, the news that broke and like the GM called him and he was like very cool about it. Like the GM was like, we got to pay these young guys. And he's like, oh, I get it. Yeah, they got to get paid. And he's like, yeah, all I ask is I just go to a winner. And he fucking went to the Texans. So he's happy. They're happy. All good. Yeah, speaking of Locke, Kamari's been working out with Ja'Cory one way. And then, yeah, we signed Laken Tomlinson, which we talked about. It was a 1 year, $4.25 million deal with a max value of $5 million. This is via Mike Garofalo. He's a former Lions, Niners, Jets, and Seahawks lineman. I like it. I mean, I see it as like a direct replacement for a backup guard for Kenyon. Who knows? Maybe they have plans for him to start, but I'm not freaking out and thinking that this is their final solution. And if it is, I'm good. Like it's not as big of a concern, for me. That's what I said. Not a splash signing, but immediate upgrade at left guard from Kenyon Green. Cheap contract for a guy to compete for a left guard spot. Same money as Kenyon too, roughly. So, I mean, if you look at it that way, it's not terrible. So basically today we replaced Kenyon Green with Laken Tomlinson and then added CJ Gardner-Johnson. So shit, what else we got here? Keep going up. We re-signed Mario Edwards Jr. via Mike Garofalo to a 2-year, $9.5 million deal. So that's a pretty good, $4 to $5 million APY for, I mean, D'Amico loves these value D linemen, and he will get the most out of him again. Hopefully he doesn't get suspended, but he was a beast. And then we have MJ Stewart was re-signed safety. He was, depth, third, fourth last year, so now he'll be super depth. Good special teams player. And, a lot of what we saw last year is what we're seeing this year. A lot of the early signings are special teams players. We'll see a couple more here in a minute. We signed a couple yesterday, a couple today. They're depth / special teams. And then, let's see. Keep scrolling. This is pretty cool.
Everybody, bro.
All right. Let's have a good week. Break.
Hey, come here real quick. Hey, listen. I know I talk a lot. Hey, listen. I know I talk a lot of shit. But listen, though, this moment right here, bro, ain't everybody, bro. You gotta be grown ass man to go out there and fight with your brothers, bro. For the ones that were here 2 years ago, bro, y'all know how this shit gonna be, bro. For the ones that just got here, bro, get ready, bro. This shit gonna go down, bro.
To go up.
All that moral victory, bro, that's the window now, bro. We compete for a championship. I talk a lot of because I know I trust my brothers to back me up. I'm going to back that with y'all. Let's go out there and do this, bro. Eagles on 3. 1, 2, 3. Eagles. Okay. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, so he's got some dog in him, man. I mean, fit that swarm culture. And, some people will kind of talk about, and then his reaction to.
What my text? Houston, we got a problem.
He seems happy. He's happy. We're happy. Yeah, I guess he could be like similar to Stephon Diggs in the sense that like he could be misunderstood. Like he's just like a hyper energy, hyper competitive guy who wants to win. And if you don't handle those personalities the right way, you could see some conflict within the team. But like we saw how it worked with Diggs, like D'Amico, rather than like try and fight it and change the guy's personality, he embraced it and used it for good. And even like talked about it, like, yeah, I'm gonna let him be himself and like funnel in the right direction. So same thing with CJ. Hey, come here, be yourself, compete your ass off. We're not afraid of it. Let's get to work. And yeah, so this is a potential article, but I got to thinking after all these crazy moves. It's already 11:30. Damn, I need to wrap it up. This is crazy. Anyways, I went through potential trade targets because we spend all this time thinking about free agent targets, but Caserio, dude, he just does shit his own way. So I basically went through a list of like guys that were considered trade targets based off contracts, and then I did positions that made sense for us. O lineman targets. I included tackles because now it's fluid having gotten rid of Laramie, but Wyatt Teller, Trevor Penning. I know these aren't guys that like I'm saying for sure that I want. I didn't like totally evaluate them. Just names mostly from contract, and then the obvious ones that like wouldn't be good I didn't include. But like these are some are debatable. Like Trevor Penning, I get it. Like why no on him, but anyways, Wyatt Teller would be fucking awesome. Trevor Penning, Evan Neal, Jonah Williams, Jack Conklin, Braden Smith, Trey Pipkins, Jermaine Eleanor. That's all for offensive line. These are guards and tackles. And then tight ends, dude. Mark Andrews, Cole Kmet, Tyler Higbee, Hunter Henry, Dallas Goedert, I forgot. I doubt like a George Kittle would be available, but shit, that'd be tight. D-line, the one tech, which is your nose tackle, the run stopper that I saw, which, there's other D linemen, but we need a one tech. So I added the 2 one techs, Grover Stewart and DJ Reader is a name. That would be sick. Reunion in Houston. He's not like a true one tech, but he can play enough of the A gap. And then on the flip side, looked at names on our roster contract wise of who we could trade. And again, before this, all these names, you'd be like, we're not going to get shit for those guys. All that changed when I saw what we got for Kenyon Green. So, and obviously it depends on what you receive on the other side. Like if it's a team trying to, move off of a contract, then they're willing to get something in return. So names that could be traded by us, John Mechie. And again, this is not me vouching to trade these guys. I'm just saying potential options. I love all these players. Just throwing names out there. John Mechie, Damian Pierce, Danico Autry, Dalton Schultz. Yeah, and so I'm sure there's more, but that was just like my quick, go through the deal. Another layer to the CJ Gardner-Johnson thing is the Swifties probably aren't happy. We had the whole Travis Kelce thing. So this account is hilarious. Somebody made an account called "Is Kenyon Green Still in the Texans?" And he's had it for like a while. And he would tweet like every so often and say no or yes, he is. Yes, 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 yes. And he finally tweeted no. And he had this video. Pretty funny. And so we got, I went over like the cap savings on Schultz. We talked about that. And then, Titus Howard was announced to start at left guard. CJ Gardner-Johnson traded for himself on Madden right away. Hilarious. I wrote my article on the Laramie trade, which is basically my rant from yesterday in, condensed word form. So I'll go through the site in a second. You can take a look if you'd like. And then, yeah, ball hawk rates. Gardner-Johnson was the third highest. Let's see. Rate. Gardner-Johnson made a play on the football, which is a pass, defense, or interception on 32.4% of his targets last season, which is the third highest hawk rate. That's crazy. And then, yeah, we talked about Rap saying there wasn't a crazy market for Tunsil. What else we got? Rap also said on Pat McAfee that the Texans had interest in Javon Holland, which was interesting. And then you saw the deal he got, which I believe was like $45 million, 3 years. I think it was like $15 million APY. And shit, we got CJ for a much better contract, and I think potentially a better player. So I'm happy it worked out that way. And let's see. So it was interesting that we were actively looking for a safety. So, I mean, you got to think that Jimmy Ward's pissed, which is kind of weird because we signed him to an extension. And I pointed out, too, I noticed during the combine when D'Amico talked about Jimmy Ward, he like voluntarily said, like, yeah, Jimmy, like, he's great when he's on the field. Like, we need him to stay healthy. Like, and I was digging into it, but I thought it was kind of interesting. Like, okay, like, he's kind of calling him out. So, I mean, maybe we're moving on from it. Like, force his hand. All right, now he's unhappy. Then, okay, we'll trade you. Who knows? Or it's just he stays on the team. Hopefully he just stays and he's, him and CJ kind of, share. He's like the backup for CJ and or Kalen and rotate the three safeties. And then now he can also play nickel with Petrie as well and just rotate, keep those guys fresh. I mean, that would be sick. Yeah, and they awarded comp picks today. We didn't get one, obviously, so they do it a year later. And then D-Hop signed for 1 year, $5 million deal, which is crazy because the projections we were looking at said $15 million. So he was cheap, but, I didn't want him. Let's see what else we got. And then, yeah, I fucked up today. I read a tweet that said Trent Sherfield signed a deal, and I'm like with the family and kids and like see it real quick and fire off thinking that it was Brandon Scherf, the guard from the Jags. And I like tweet something else, different about it. And I realized I fucked up like an hour later and deleted it. But lesson learned. I'll be better. We're all not perfect, but yeah, I think that's pretty much everything on there. Let's see. I will pull up the article I wrote today. Well, it was like I worked on it last night and finished it today. So yeah, so I kind of go through it, all the same stuff. But yeah, feel free to check it out. Got all the good info on there, all the reasons why. I'm trying. I wanted to try and do like an article for like each piece of news, but it's just too much shit to keep up with. So what I did was just like a recap, and this is more transactional than it is analysis. And so I'll do one of these tomorrow, recapping day 2, just to try and keep you up to date. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of articles on here if you like to read. You got little tags here, like the analysis pieces, the ones where I dive in. And you got news ones where just surface level, just transactional. As always, you can subscribe right here. Store, get you a shirt like this one. Let's see. It's not doing it right. There we go. Got the Houston versus everybody shirt right here. Yeah, Hawk and Lock. I mean, I haven't really pushed this shirt, but Bullock and Lassiter, dude. Got a 3D logo thing my nephew prints if y'all want to get one. Rocket shirts, I need to make more and start pushing those. But yeah, I mean, I got some designs on here. I'll be making some new ones. If you ever have any ideas of stuff you want, let me know. I can do it for show. And then, yeah, I mean, the video player, this is always a function to look at. I update these playlists, and it should keep you up to date. And then, yeah, the directory too. If you need to check out anybody's stuff, it's all here. Got a bunch of people on here, all the media people in Houston, big or small. And then this little button right here, that's your profile. I haven't pushed this, but it would be cool to get this going. The Discord, you can create a profile. I think that's all I got. Jess says good night. Stay blessed. Appreciate you, my guy. Cam says, I beat you, or Cam, I beat you says, could we still possibly get Diggs back if we tried? I think we could, but I don't think we will. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I mean, I got 1,200 people that tuned in on here, and that's not counting TikTok and Instagram and I think Facebook. So I appreciate you guys, man. Like this is legit. Having a blast. I'll be on live tomorrow at 9 with DJ BNMA from ESPN. And yeah, that's all I got. If I didn't get to a question that you want answered, just DM me on any platform. I'll get to it eventually. But I really appreciate you guys. Reminder to stay patient. Tomorrow could/should be a big day. If it's not, it's going to be okay. We'll be fine. Trust the process. And Nick, we trust.